I brought out Milton to put a bow on the week. Let's see how he does. This week's YouTube videos have accidentally told a story. We started with Perpetua, who stepped on the first rung of the vision, her dream that she had. The first rung was the head of the serpent. From that, we talked about Romans 16 and St. Paul saying how the Lord would crush the devil under our feet, which led us also to that discussion of good works in the book of Concord. From there, we went to consider and have a Bible study on how the cross is considered the devil's defeat throughout the scriptures. And this led us yesterday, to a discussion of Genesis 3:15, the first promise. Now, that got me thinking about, and this will put a bow on it, that got me thinking about this old poem, Paradise Lost, written by John Milton, when 1674, it says here on the top of the page. I haven't read the whole thing in a long time, but I remember when I was reading through it for the first time, there was this picture got caught in my head of how Michael the angel after the fall, takes Adam up on a hill and shows him a vision of all of history unfolding. And that is a history of death. And the first thing that Adam sees is Cain killing Abel. And he says, is this death? That's amazing. And Michael says, this is just the first form of death. So anyway, we got 2 chapters today. I'm going to read you this portion from Paradise Lost. This is book 11, probably starting around line 445. And then we're going to dial back and see what Milton has to say about Genesis 3:15.
Chapter 1.
Now, not everything that Milton says is theologically accurate, but it is all quite stunningly beautiful. I mean, in a poetic way, even though he describes the most horrible stuff. So here's the picture. The angel has Adam up on a hill, and he sees Cain killing Abel, and it goes like this. The other's not, for his was not sincere, that is Cain's offering. Wherein he inly raged as they talked, and he smote him in the midriff with a stone that beat out life. He fell deadly pale, groaned out his soul with gushing blood effused. Much at that sight was Adam in his heart dismayed, and thus in haste to the angel cried, O teacher, some great mischief hath befallen to that meek man who well it sacrificed. Is piety thus and pure devotion paid? To Michael thus he also moved replied, These are 2 brethren, Adam, and to come out of thy loins. The unjust, the just hath slain for envy, that his brother's offering found from heaven acceptance. But the bloody fact will be avenged, and the other faith approved. Lose no reward, though here thou see him die, rolling in dust and gore. To which our sire, Adam, says, Alas, both for the deed and for the cause. But have I now seen death? Is this the way I must return to native dust? O sight of terror, foul and ugly to behold, horrid to think, how horrible to feel. To whom thus, Michael, Death thou hast seen in his first shape on man, but many shapes of death, and many are the ways that lead to his grim cave, all dismal, yet to sense more terrible at the entrance than within. Some, as thou sawest, by violent stroke shall die, by fire, flood, famine, by intemperance, more in meats and drinks, which on earth shall bring diseases dire, of which a monstrous crew before thee shall appear, that thou mayest know what misery the inabstinence of Eve shall bring on men. Immediately a place before his eyes appeared, sad, noisome, dark, a lazar house it seemed, wherein were laid numbers of all diseased, all maladies of ghastly spasm or racking torture, qualms of heart-sick agony, all feverous kinds, convulsions, epilepsies, fierce cataracts, intestine stones and ulcers, colic pains, demonic frenzy, moping melancholy, and moonstruck madness, pining atrophy, marasmus, a wide-wasting pestilence, dropsies and asthmas, a joint-racking rheumum. Dire was the tossing, deep the groans, despair tended the sick, busiest from the couch to couch, and over them triumphant death his dart shook, but delayed to strike, though oft invoked with vows as their chief good and final hope. Sight so deformed, what heart of rock could long dry-eyed behold? Adam could not, but wept. Though not of woman born, compassion quelled his best of men, and gave him up to tears a space, till firmer thoughts restrained excess, and scarce recovering words his plaint renewed. O miserable mankind! To what fall degraded? To what wretched state reserved? That's stunning. Can you imagine it? Here, Adam, seeing all of history unfold and all the trouble that he's caused. Well, that's the bad stuff. Let's check out Genesis 3:15.
Chapter 2.
It's back to Paradise Lost, book 10, line 175. I'm sure Paradise Lost is all over the internet. You guys can find it and check it out. This is how Milton gives us this promise, Genesis 3:15. First, he gives us a paraphrase and then a little bit of commentary. Because thou hast done this is God talking to the devil. Because thou hast done this, thou art accursed above all cattle, each beast of the field. Upon thy belly groveling shalt thou go, and dust shalt eat all the days of thy life. Between thee and the woman I will put enmity, and between thine and her seed shall bruise thy head, thou bruise his heel. So spake this oracle, then verified, when Jesus, son of Mary, second Eve, saw Satan fall like lightning down from heaven, prince of the air, then rising from his grave, spoiled principalities and powers, triumphant in open show, and with ascension bright, captivity led captive through the air, the realm itself of Satan long usurped, whom he shall tread at last under our feet, even he who now foretold his fatal bruise. Ha! So Milton knew it too, that this promise of Genesis 3:15 was a promise of Jesus, a promise of his death, a promise of his resurrection, a promise of his ascension. And he piles up about 20 verses right on top. When Jesus, son of Mary, second Eve, saw Satan fall like lightning down from heaven, Jesus says, I saw, when the 70 return, he says, I saw lightning fall from heaven. Prince of the air, that's the name of the devil given in Ephesians 6. But then Jesus, rising from his grave, spoiled principalities and powers, that's Colossians 2. Triumphant in open show, and with ascension bright, captivity led captive through the air, that's Psalm 68, quoted in Ephesians chapter 4. The realm of Satan long usurped, and he shall tread him at last under our feet, Romans 16. Even he whom now foretold his fatal bruise, Genesis 3:15. So that's the good news. And John Milton saw it. Hey, you guys have a good weekend. We should probably read more poems, and we should probably start with the Psalms. Next week I'll do a video about the 2 questions that we need to ask when we read the Psalms and any poetry to be able to understand it. So make sure to subscribe, tune in then, and go and sign up for this Wednesday Whatnot. A couple of you guys jumped on board on the Wednesday Whatnot, which is cool. We drop 4 or 5 random theological thoughts on this free email every Wednesday, and it helps keep in touch. So thanks for signing up. You guys have a good weekend.